What's up YouTube? My name is Chad. This is the Wisco Boater channel, and today I'm going to start working on getting the hulls cleaned up in order to prep them for paint. I did decide recently that I'm going to paint these hulls. As much as I like the retro style, the retro color of gray with the orange trampoline, I'm going to paint the hulls yellow. And there's a reason for that, but I'll wait to talk about that a little bit later. I'm going to try and preserve the striping just by masking that off. And everything else is just going to get cleaned up and probably roughed up with a little bit of sandpaper. They're pretty chalky right now, so I think a good clean and a little scrub with some wet sandpaper will get these hulls prepped to the point where they're ready to accept paint. The yellow paint will be here in a couple of days and should be ready to put some paint on the hulls. So in the meantime, let's rotate on around here and I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about here. I think I pointed it out in the video before, but this has some mossy growth on it. And this is not mold. It's just been sitting outside on the beachfront on Lake Michigan for a long time. Take a look at that sticker. The last time this boat was registered was 1999. Now, they probably took it out a few times in the last 21 years, but for the most part, this boat has just been sitting on the beach waiting for someone to do something with it. So I wrote in the letter, the missing S and the missing 4, just so I have record of what the registration is. It is on the title, but I just want to make sure I know what letters and numbers are going back on this. I'm going to strip these off, preserve the striping, all this gross mossy stuff off the hull, and most of it should come off fairly easily with just a scraper. And I'll get it flush. Yeah, you can see it just kind of breaks away. So I'll get it all off, and then I do have a mold and mildew remover that's specifically made for fiberglass and gel coat hulls. So I'll get it all cleaned up and then start masking. I'll mask off the posts, the stripes. I do have to do a little bit of repair here. I'm just going to fill this in. Same back here. I took the oh shoot, I just forgot the name of these again. Well, starts with a G. I forgot the name on the last video as well. But I'll get the silicone out of these holes, fill these in, put some filler over them because there's kind of a low spot. Fill over that and just fill all this back in, get the damaged areas taken care of, and paint over all of that. So that's what I'm going to be working on here today and maybe tomorrow, or at least today, get everything scraped off and get it cleaned up. Tomorrow, maybe do some sanding and masking before the paint gets here in a couple days. All right, I've got the first pass done on the starboard side hull using Starbright's mildew stain remover, and you can see the results are quite nice. In the tread, the walking area tread here, I am using maroon Scotch-Brite pad, and you can see the difference right here. This part has not been scrubbed yet, and this part has been. So, looks really good. I'll go over this area one more time, but for the most part, it's looking really, really nice. Compared to the port side hull, which hasn't been touched yet. So really happy with these results. And now I'll just set the camera up and you can watch me and fast forward clean the port side hull. How fun. hulls look fantastic. I almost hate to paint over them at this point, but with what I'm planning to do with the boat, how I'm going to use it, what I'm going to name it, might give you some idea as to why it's going to be painted yellow, but it looks cleaned up really, really nice. So I'll let this basically completely dry from all the from the solvent that I just used on cleaning everything off of it. Let it sit overnight. I think I'm going to go ahead and start chipping away at some of this repair work, so I can work on filling that tomorrow. So like I said, I'll let it dry completely, and then I will wipe it down with alcohol and then water, and then it'll be ready to paint, hopefully this weekend. Oh, I gotta pull the registration numbers off. So, but this is looking really, really nice. Final update for tonight is the removal of the registration numbers. You can see the difference in the original fiberglass here, gel coat, I should say. Quite a bit darker than the rest of it. Obviously sun faded for many years, but both sides are now registration number free, and it's ready to be cleaned up with alcohol and water and a quick sand before a coat of paint. So tomorrow I'm going to work on getting the stripes masked off, as well as the posts for the trampoline. I think the only other thing I need to mask off is the drain plug on both hulls. A new day is upon us, and everything is nice and dry from last night's cleaning. I think before I actually wash this off with water and then an alcohol spray, I'll probably go ahead and just get the sander out and just do some roughing of the gel coat. It's pretty dull already. I think paint would probably stick to it, but just want to sand it, get the remaining chalkiness out of the way, and then I will work on getting everything masked off, because paint will be here tomorrow. It's a good couple of days to do this because it is about 30 degrees outside, which means with my heater, I have the shop at 63. And when it's 30 to 40 degrees, actually supposed to be close to 40 today and tomorrow, I can get the shop up to around 70. So be a good, comfortable couple of days to do some paint work. And oh, I also need to do the repairs, which that'll be quick. That's just gonna be some filler. And then that stuff dries in like 10 minutes, and then it's sandable, and we'll get that shaped correctly, and then get everything roughed up and taped off, ready for paint tomorrow. All right, I've got my slurry of fiberglass filler made up here, and I'll show you what this stuff is after I get done putting this layer on. This stuff flashes very quickly, so you have to work pretty quick. And I use this stuff on the tugboat, so if you watch that series, you'll know what this stuff is. If not, I'll show it to you here in just a minute. And this first coat's just going to be kind of ugly. Just get it slathered on here, and it sands real nice. But I do have to, again, work quick, because it does not last very long. sands easily and dries pretty quickly when you get the hardener ratio correct. So like I said, it will harden. It just might take a little bit longer than it usually does. So this is the stuff that I'm using. This is Bondo glass, and that's part A. This is part B. And what you do is you just take a dollop, put it on your mixing board, and then put a stripe of hardener over the dollop. Mix it all together. Kind of turns this brown color if you get it right. This is kind of brownish green. Should be a little more brown, but I'll show you what this looks like after I get sanded. First round of sanding is done. You can see this already looks much better. It's got a nice smooth surface and curve to it. I knew I was gonna end up with some little potholes here because there's the, that's where the rudder pin used to go down through the hull. There's a hole there. So I'm gonna go get the glaze putty, put a layer of glaze putty over that. Got a little bit of glaze putty that needs to go there. Smear it around the edges here just to be sure it's nice and smooth. So that looks really good. Same thing over here, glaze putty. The holes are filled, which is the main thing, but I want to make sure that it's nice and smooth. So this all looks really good. Same thing here. That's where the hole is for the rudder pin. Glaze putty will take care of that. Got a little bit of an indentation there that I'll take care of. And the other spots are looking pretty good too. So that's where there was some hardware here that mounted. I don't remember what it's called, but there was a piece of hardware that went here, stuck up through the hull, filled that in. There was a nice big chunk of gel coat missing down to the fiberglass right there. So that's done. So time for glaze putty. And I'll sand that, and then I'll get the little mouse sander out with some Scotch-Brite and go over the whole thing. All right, I'm not showing the spreading of the glaze putty. I'm just using a popsicle stick, a wide popsicle stick, and just putting it on wherever the low spots are. This stuff dries pretty quick. There's no mixing involved. Let me show you the tube. This is just Bondo glazing and spot putty. You just squeeze it out of the tube onto a stick or spreader of some sort, and then put it where you want it. This, I will not be using the electric sander to sand because it sands really, really fast and easy. So I'll use just a piece of sandpaper on a block, or maybe just a piece of sandpaper in my hand in order to smooth these out. But once this part is done, then I will switch over to my little mouse sander here with a maroon Scotch-Brite pad on the bottom. And again, just go over the entire hull. And after that, I will mask off the stripes and it will be ready to paint tomorrow. Well, I have just spent the last 3 hours sanding the hulls. I did remove the support block from the outside of each hull and then just put some loose straps there to keep it from falling away. You can see the hull is nice and dull now, both of them. I haven't blown this off yet, so I'm gonna do that next. I did have a little bit of glaze putty that I had put on back here. So I sanded it once. This is real nice here. Had a little low spot here, so I had to put some more on. This isn't quite dry yet. It's really cold. Working with the garage open, and it is above freezing. It's probably about 34 degrees, 35 degrees, something like that. But I wanted to work with the garage open while I was sanding. But I'm gonna go ahead and blow everything out and then come back and turn the heater on so I can get this glaze putty. It's dry to the touch, but it's still soft. The fingernail test, I don't know if I can show it. Yeah, so you can see fingernail marks. If you can still see fingernail marks, it's still too soft to sand. So I'm gonna blow all this out of here and then start cleaning it up, except for the rear parts here. Start cleaning it up, wiping it off with alcohol and getting it ready for paint. My paint is here. So I'm gonna spray some Bondo sandable primer over the entirety of both hulls, and then let that dry and paint. I don't know that I'll get to paint today. It's after 2 o'clock already. The sanding just takes forever, so we'll see what happens. I will get primer gray on it today, but I don't know if I'll get to the yellow. And everything is just covered in dust. All right, it's time for primer. Bondo gray filler primer. Gonna go over the entire sections of both hulls, and probably as far as I'll get today. It's getting late, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I figured it would take quite a while to do this, so shake this up and we'll get it sprayed. Whew. Woo. Both holes are now coated with primer, and this is all I really need to do. I used 3 cans, and you can see it's kind of rough. I might give it a light sand. I doubt it, because I've got plenty of yellow to go over at least a couple of coats, maybe 3 coats. But all I really need here is something for the yellow paint to basically attach to. So by roughing up the gel coat and then applying a thin coat of primer, that yellow will now stick quite nicely. And actually, sometimes if you go too thick with primer, it'll end up flaking off and not adhering properly. The substrate below will just let the primer loose, and it will end up not looking good. So both hulls are now ready for yellow paint as soon as this dries. And this stuff dries really, really fast. I don't think I'm gonna push it tonight though. I am gonna get the garage warmed back up just so I can get this paint to cure properly. And then probably tomorrow at some point I'll come out and get the yellow paint put on. And I'm just gonna put it on with a roller. And you know, I'm not looking for a show queen here. It's gonna be used. So paint it yellow, and then we'll start getting the trampoline put back on. You can see in the back here, I did coat a fairly heavy gray primer over the repair areas. And I did that for two reasons. One, to make sure that the color of the filler isn't going to bleed through to the yellow, but also to be sure that I can see any imperfections if anything needs to be taken care of. And everything looks nice and smooth. I mean, again, I'm not building a show boat here, but this turned out really, really nice. I mean, these areas here where the hole was for the rudder pin and the gudgeons, I finally did remember what they're called, are gone. So it looks real good. So heater comes back on, warm up for an hour or so, let this sit tonight, and then yellow paint tomorrow. Well, thanks for watching this episode of the Wisco Boater channel. I hope you enjoyed the primer preparation and primer being applied to the hulls of the Hobie Motorcat. The next episode we'll see color go on the hulls, and I'm really looking forward to that. So it's going to look really cool. The yellow with the retro stripes. Actually, let me make a quick note of that. You might be asking why I save those stripes. First of all, I like the colors. I think they're really, really cool. I think they'll look awesome with yellow as well. But some of the areas of the striping is really not that good a shape. But if you watch the Tugboat series, you know that I do like a little bit of character in the boats that I build and restore. The Lund, going back to the Lund, I left some of the original metalwork completely untouched. Some of it was like marred up and scratched, and I didn't polish it. I thought it looked awesome with new paint, new rub rails, old characterish looking metal on the Lund. On the Tugboat that I built, brand new, I left the finish rough to make it kind of look like a working tugboat. It had that rough steel hull looking finish to it, which I thought looked great. The new owner is changing it, totally fine with me. It's got to make it his own, and I applaud him for doing that. On this boat, those old stripes with the yellow paint, I think is going to look really good. And because the stripes aren't actually in perfect condition, that's going to add some character to this boat, which I think will look great. So that's why I am saving the stripes, not repainting, not reapplying. They're just going to look exactly as they were when I brought the boat home. There's scratches in them, there's pieces missing, but I think it's going to look awesome. So that's why I'm doing that. So again, hope you enjoyed this episode of the Wisco Boater channel. We'll look for paint on the next episode, and hope you come back and watch that one. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, send me some comments. If you want to be notified when I post new videos just like this one, hit that little notification bell. And we'll see you next time on the Wisco Boater channel. Happy boating, everybody.